I know the meat is in the bag of Colton.
Yes.
So I was gonna take my portion of the meat out and see how much I could get for it at the shop.
What
I
do you
thought he
mean
got
your
100%.
portion of the meat?
You get no portion.
He gets 100% of the portion.
Devlin gets all of the kills. That was part of the deal.
That's fair. I was gonna take it and see how much he was gonna get for it, then to give the money back to him when he gets.
You will do no. Lorelei advises against such.
Yeah, because we still need food if we run out of rations.
Whatever.
Oh, Ezra, thanks for reminding me. I need you guys to mark down that you're down 2 rations from your short journey into the wild. You
I don't
guys,
even remember buying rations, did we?
some of you got some rations, but not a lot.
Yeah, because I don't remember it.
Either way, you guys wait around for most of the day before someone eventually arrives carrying this a larger diamond than last time.
Oh, Lord.
Dude must be more powerful.
They set it down onto Devlin's chest as they did before with Abyss. He's been properly cleaned off, and you see there's where yesterday night there was but a dozen. The entire temple is now full of townsfolk, including the mayor and Igni Roxworth.
Lorelei would like to perform again.
Well, not right now, you won't.
Damn it!
The head priest approaches you all. Would you like to perform within the ritual again? I don't know how much of a tie you have to Devlin. If you choose not to, I'm sure there are plenty of townsfolk who can.
I would love to perform with glee in her eyes.
I kind of pushed past Lorelei and put a single gold coin on his forehead.
Okay. Make a persuasion check with your at disadvantage.
Disadvantage?
It was a poor offering.
What the hell were you trying to persuade?
Passage.
That is one failure.
Else? Come back or for luck.
Okay, Lorelei, you want to try and play a song to lure the spirit back?
Yes.
Okay, make a performance check at disadvantage.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah,
God, just help me.
That, okay.
Not horrible. Not great.
Anybody
not
else? If nobody else offers anything, the mayor comes up. He has a small journal, and he sets it onto Devlin's chest. And you hear him saying a couple of quiet words. Okay. So, after you give your tributes and the mayor leaves the journal in the hands on the chest of Devlin and takes a step back, the priest begins his incantation. They've been chanting throughout all of these offerings, and he approaches, places his hands above the diamonds, and just as when it occurred to Abyss, the diamond shatters into tiny little speckles of dust that just kind of permeate the air and then into Devlin's body. There's a pause. And then Devlin sits up from the altar. Oh, not again. Oh. He just kind of puts his hands into his face into his hands and takes a couple of deep breaths, and then the priest helps him stand from the altar and motions towards Lorelei. These adventurers have funded for your revival. And Devlin just, well, that was
Expensive? Yes.
Sorry we got you killed.
no. I suppose I'll need to do some explaining, and I think I might need to wait until tomorrow to leave again. Let us go to my house. I will put you up for the night, and we shall eat some of the boulette from the however many days ago it has been.
Not too long.
That is good. Come, and he leads you back across the town, and you see, as you guys turn to leave, the entirety of the town that has shown up to the temple, they are all just quiet, silent, mouths agape.
That's disturbing.
The only one who seems relatively unsurprised is the mayor. As you guys start to pass through, they all kind of just put out their hands, and some of them just touch Devlin, and as you guys are leaving, you hear just hushed talking, which soon breaks out into prayer. Apparently, Lorelei starts to play.
Playing the
I
Halo
was
game.
not expecting that.
Okay, Lorelei starts to play a happy tune to celebrate the revival of Devlin at her expense. And as you guys start to exit out to the temple, you see the street is full of other people come to give their regards and to pray for the lost Devlin. As you guys emerge, victorious tune bellowing behind you as Lorelei follows behind playing her song. The town just erupts in cheers. People are clapping. People are crying. You see children are running up to you guys and just kind of cheerfully jumping and grabbing at you guys' hands. The town is in mass celebration.
Good.
The town ranger, who provides a lot of the meat and a lot of services for the town, believed to have been dead, is alive once more, thanks to you. And you kind of get the sense that he probably would have died irregardless of if you have been there.
We did a thing.
As you guys make your way through the town, gifts are given to you in the form of baked goods, and somebody gives you an entire roast chicken. Another person gives you like a small pot of stew.
Just holding all the food.
Well, essentially what would have been burial gifts are now being given to you guys as celebration, and by the time you arrive back to Devlin's home, you guys have a small feast. And Lorelei, go ahead and roll me 2d10.
Oh, Jesus. R2D10. Oh, 2D10 or 2D10s?
2d10s.
Okay. So that would be R1D...
No, you can do 2d10.
Okay, 2D10. Oh, okay, that's what it is.
You receive
Oh, Lord.
26 gold, 48 silver, whether or not you decide to pick it up off the street as people are just kind of flicking it your way. A number of hastily written love letters.
Oh, Lord.
And as you guys arrive back to Devlin's house, you do notice behind you there is a a female. This would be we'll say she is a raccoon girl. And she's carrying a large tray of what looks to be just absolutely lovely baked goods. As you guys arrive, she lets herself into the house, sets the baked goods down, and just absolutely red in the face goes up to all of you and starts to bow. And when she gets to Lorelei, her entire face is just absolute tomato red, and she just bows a couple of times to you, Lorelei, and then runs out the door. Devlin takes a seat at the table and kind of motions for you to take he's got a kind of assorted chairs throughout the room, and you guys kind of gather them up and join him at the table that is now covered in food. Well, I suppose let us dig in, and I shall tell my story. And I've got to say I'm exceptionally thankful. Okay, hold on.
There he goes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, that time I couldn't even hear you, so... where did I cut out?
She comes bearing the little raccoon.
Yes, the raccoon girl bearing a large tray of exceptionally delicious-looking baked goods. As you guys arrive to Devlin's house, she lets herself in, sets the tray down, and starts to bow to each of you. As she gets to you, Lorelei, she goes absolutely red in the face, like a tomato, just bows a couple of times, and runs out the door.
I guess I wink at her. Like, I don't know how to react.
You do hear a slight squee as you wink at her, and she's running out the door.
I bump Lorelei there. Looks like you got quite the fan club.
Lorelei, you did get quite a few hastily written love letters, all of which were handed to you by various different peoples.
I will accept.
A couple of them were from
read.
children.
As long as they're nothing inappropriate, I will read them.
A lot of it is well-mannered, something a high schooler might write to another high schooler. A couple of them seem to be a little more of a dirty mind.
Lorelei gladly accepts all these letters.
Of course she does.
Devlin takes a seat at the table and motions to... He has a collection of different chairs throughout the room, and you guys kind of gather them up and take a seat at the table. Go ahead and start eating, and I have a story to tell, I suppose.
Before he does that, I hand him both the bag of holding and his bag of holding back.
Oh, thank you. And you did notice, by the way, he has a very large additional bag. He has a backpack, a bag of holding, a bag of colding, and an efficient quiver.
Ooh. Not a haversack, though.
No, but the efficient quiver can hold 60 arrows, 10 or 6 to 10, I don't remember, spears or javelins, and his entire tent.
Sorry to interrupt you. Please go ahead with your story.
Well, firstly, thank you again. Such a costly thing is a very kind gesture. I know I was supposed to be your guide through the mountains, but even so, it's I suppose I will need to repay you somehow.
I kind of chuckle. I'm pretty sure you got to talk to that one.
You okay, Shreds?
I'm good.
Shreds is so shocked by what has just transpired.
Yeah.
And he takes one of the very well-made pastries and starts to eat it, and he kind of pauses for a moment. This is very good.
I don't know where to start.
He ends up eating the whole thing before he starts, and he goes and fetches he has a small cask of ale, and he gathers a drink for each of you except for Amartya. He brings her some juice.
Juice is good.
So, Balin, the dwarf man that you met. He was one of the adventurers who came here to join us in retaking the mines originally, before the town showed up. After the town appeared, he and I decided to, since the guards were taking care of the gnolls, we would head into the mountains and start to take care of some of the problems, namely the Ettins. There was a single fight where, as I said, wyverns are kind of rare on the eastern side. They mostly keep to the western part of the mountains up high. But wyvern came in while we were dealing with some Ettins. Balin wanted to leave the wyvern alone and just let it take the Ettins, but it was very much in our way, so I tried to deal with it. Balin was very unhappy with this, begrudging with him even, and after the Ettins had been dealt with, the wyvern ended up taking him. I wasn't sure if he had died or not, but given that that thing came after us, I suppose he must have died. He even managed to find some of the stray undead within the mountains. There are travelers who go through the mountains and die, but it's rare that they end up becoming undead unless they've died nearby the cursed cliff edge.
The cursed cliff edge?
There is a place in the mountains. Oddly enough, the temple for Beshaba, being in this town, is no coincidence. The cursed mountains ridge is the place where Beshaba herself died.
Oh, that's not good.
Much of her energy resides in that place, I'm told.
So you have a cursed cliff edge and a cursed cave in the same area.
Actually, I believe the cave is a part of that. There is a ruins on the edge that might lead back into the cave. I've not ventured into them, though, due to the nature of the place. We'll actually be passing by there once we take our journey back towards Ardlin again.
Are you still willing to do this for us?
I owe you much, and hopefully with my death, Barnon has found his peace.
Yeah, about that. We had to kick his ass a lot. And then you died. And then he just died.
Oh, he stopped
I don't know
getting
what
back up.
Yeah, he just stopped.
Once you
Then the chances of him having claimed his revenge is pretty good. He's probably gone. Which will make the journey through the mountains easier.
I certainly hope so.
That said, we may want to pick up maybe just a few torches in case this happens again. Or
Yes.
I do know someone that might have some alchemist's fire or some oil.
Alchemist fire.
But yes, I suppose Balin blames me for his death since I was the one who actually attacked the wyvern. In my defense, I almost killed it.
Yes, you also got people killed.
As I said, it wasn't a sure thing if it would leave once the Ettins were dead, and if Balin had actually helped attack the wyvern, it might have actually died.
It's
But
true.
he believed that such a creature should be left untouched so that it would leave on its own. In my experience, only a few creatures will leave you be if you are present when they are hunting. As for repayment, I can offer some gold. I don't have much. Or I suppose I could offer one of my items once we reach Ardlin.
Well, Lorelai is the one who pays for everything to bring you back. So that's unheard of what she demands for payment. I would ask, can I have some of the meats to experiment with later on?
I suppose you have access to my kitchen while we are here.
Not a lot. I just need something to tinker with.
He just hands you the bag.
I just take out a little bit. I don't want to take away from his profit.
I mean, most of what you harvested was large, like whole mussels. So
I just want to take a little. And I'm gonna go to the kitchen.
okay, so you take say you take a leg.
Okay, the work.
Kind of, take off a lot of the excess fat and silver skin. Do your butchering stuff, breaking it down. The rest of you enjoy a huge feast as Lufir probably also eats as the food is smoking in the oven.
I do like to pick at it.
Well, no, I meant you probably go eat the feast while it's... Because smoking is a very I don't need to be here kind of cooking method.
I was interested in trying that chicken.
The roast chicken?
Yeah.
I mean, everything on the table is very well cooked.
As a note for my character, every time I eat something, I'm trying to pick through the flavors and add to my memory. Like, add to my knowledge of what it could be.
Okay. Make a nature check.
Like, anytime I eat something, I'm like, can I create this later?
Okay. As you're eating the chicken, it seems relatively simple seasoning-wise. Salt, pepper, a little bit of rosemary. And the thing that you note of most importance is that it's not just seasoned onto the skin, it's seasoned under the skin. They peeled it off of the chicken very carefully, seasoned underneath the skin, and then allowed it to re-adhere during cooking. So
I love that technique.
the meat itself is actually much more well seasoned than if you would just put it above the skin. And as you begin to eat some of the other offerings on the table, the stew appears to have just salt and pepper. It's venison, carrots, potatoes, celery. Very, very finely made but simple stew. The baked goods are where the true treasure lies. All of these baked goods are pastry style, laboriously made folded butter. So they make the dough, they put butter into it, and then they fold it, and then they chill it, and then they fold it, and then they chill it. As you're going through trying to count the layers, Lufir, there's more than 1,000 layers.
Lufir's just gonna quietly sob just a little bit, trying to be as quiet as possible while eating.
All of you notice.
Everything okay?
Waiter.
You alright?
Yep.
Waiter.
Continues to chew.
The pastry is super it's light, it's crispy, it's just shatters almost given the sheer amount of layering.
I'll be back. I gotta go find a drill bucket. Getting hungry. We gotta stop that.
It's definitely also cooked with lots of butter, as it is very savory and creamy. But you guys finish a very long meal. Is there a payment that you are demanding of him, Lorelei?
Demanding, not per se, just...
He says he has gold, but he doesn't have much of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty sizable chunk of gold right there.
Mm-hmm. He did say he could offer one of his magical items, but not until you guys get to Ardlin.
I mean, I'm trying to think, like, how can this be the most beneficial to me? We are coming back to Ardland.
It would not be a stretch to have him hired on as a service.
I'm sorry, what?
It would not be a stretch to have him perform a
we
service.
lost Nate again, didn't we?
Oh, god damn
think
it.
so.
This is why. I don't understand why this is happening. My connection isn't bad. I'm not losing any bars.
It might just be Discord.
The downside of them upping the amount of people that can be in Discord.
That might be it. My suggestion, Nate, just close the Discord app and reopen it.
I can't do that right now.
Oh.
But we're almost done with session anyway.
Oh.
It would not be a stretch for you to have him perform a service for you as payment. And even if you can somehow provide the materials, you could actually ask him to make a magic item for you.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of magic item I would request, though.
I mean, you already said you want a bag of holding. He could theoretically make you a better version of a bag of holding. Or he could make you a bag of colding, or you could just ask for his bag of colding. As a reminder, the bag of colding has a slightly smaller space, but it keeps things inside of it preserved, food-wise. It's worth more than a bag of holding.
Yeah, that could be advantageous for certain other prospected adventures.
He also does do a lot of leatherwork and hunting, obviously, so you could ask for trade goods to be sent to your home. You could ask him to venture to your house and assist your parents for the rest of his life.
I really haven't the slightest idea how to make this advantageous enough without being too greedy. Because I don't want to seem like an asshole.
He technically owes you his whole life, so...
And
And he's an elf. A relatively young one, so...
Yeah.
Your character's
I'm trying to figure out a way to, like, make this financially advantageous long term. While still being beneficial now, because I need to recoup some of my losses. Lorelei goes outside and takes a few hours thinking. Just finishes food and goes outside and just stares up at the stars, and in that time frame, contemplate.
Is there anything you guys would like to do for the rest of your day of downtime? Because this is actually where we will leave off this session. If not, then we will leave session here. And we'll pick this up next week, restarting the adventure back into the mountains.
Hopefully not.
Hey.